Okay, this is my first video of where I'm going to attempt to start telling my story about my journey with actually knowing God and how I came to know that He's real because of what He did in my life. I mean, I watch a lot of guys, preachers, and clips of other guys uh, quoting scriptures and saying and mentioning what God does in your life. Like if you have faith, like the trials you're going through, you just keep having faith, and it's it's happening for a reason. God's got a plan, which that is true. But I've want to show like the examples of like of actually going through it at that moment instead of just hearing, uh, oh yeah, that if you just keep faith, it's gonna happen. But God's got a plan for you, and it's gonna work out. Uh, and that's what I heard my whole life. But I never actually seen Him working in my life, or I didn't notice it. Like when I was younger, in my teens and early 20s, and then in my late 20s, I partied, and there's 1,000 times over that I shouldn't be here. I mean, I should have OD'd, had a wreck, a million different ways I should have been dead. But I have a lot of my friends from school that are gone, but I'm still here, and I finally seen, and I didn't realize that God was looking out. He was the one watching over me, and I when I turned 30, uh, I had a major stroke. Very rare artery condition. My it, uh, artery split open in my neck, my vertebral artery, and they misdiagnosed me as having vertigo because I wasn't paralyzed on either side or anything like that. Uh, my eye was floating and my neck was hurting real bad, but they just wasn't even considering thinking about a stroke because I was only 30 years old. And then after 2 weeks, and the vertigo medicine, well, I wasn't getting any better. They sent me to do an MRI. Coming to find out, uh, some neurologists come in the room. You you don't realize how lucky you are to be sitting here. You've had a major stroke, and they showed me scans and this and that, and so that at that point I was that's when I started getting trying to get my life together. Yes, it took me till I was 30 years old to start to realize that I need to get something, some stability going here. And I still wasn't. I knew I knew that okay, yeah, God's. I shouldn't be here. God's kept me alive, and I. That's another reason I have. I hate trying to get this video out because what I'm wanting to say and what I'm thinking doesn't want to come out at the same time because of the brain damage, the stroke caused, whatever. Uh, well, yeah, it did cause brain damage. Just one of my words won't come out right or whatnot. But I would ask. I grew up in church, and I always, but I never. I felt like when I was partying and doing, not being a good Christian. I've always been a good person. I've never done anything bad to anyone. I've always wanted to be good to people and wanted, you know, uh, I've just I've just never been a bad person. I've always been good and or tried to be a good person as far as the way I treat other people and things. Well, I after the stroke, okay, I ended up in a situation where I didn't have a job, didn't have a car. Had the only thing I had a place to stay and a place to live with me, my mother, my sister, my older brother, which wasn't a good situation at the time either. But the only place I could go was to church. That was the only time I could get a ride to go anywhere to do anything. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm just gonna try. I'm just gonna do what God wants me to do as far as uh, by the Bible. I'm just gonna try. I want to be a better person, and I want to change the person that I am. As far as I stopped cussing. I stopped doing the things that I was done before. Not that I think if you cuss, you're going to hell or whatever, or if things like that. But I just wanted to change me as a person. And uh, I, there was a woman at the church. I grew up at that church, and I have family there at that church, and everybody there knew what had happened to me and everything. Well, this woman that I met, her name was Jean. Her husband had just passed a few months before that, and she was like, "Well, uh, I need some work done around my place, like just some cleaning up around her house, just little things like that." And she said, "I'll pay you $100 a week." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I was up at her house, and I was by myself, and I was just pulling some little vines that grows up around on the fence line, just little nothing major, and I was pulling them off anyways, and the burn pile was like 50 yards away from where I was at, where I had to carry the vines, and this is the first thing that got my attention and that happened that started making me think that see God, that God, okay, like He showed me His. I don't know how to explain it, but anyways, I had a pile of the stuff that I was pulling off the fence. I had it behind me, and a little whirlwind had appeared, and it was coming by me, and it come right behind me. And if you don't know what it is, it's like a little whirlwind. It's like a mini, a mini tornado. It's just spinning, and it picked up those vines that I had piled up, and it carried them right over into that burn pile. Which, at any other situation, if I would have been in any other situation, I would have just been like, man, that was what a coincidence. But you have to follow what I was doing at that point in my life, and to me, it was like it honestly, it wasn't like I heard God's voice, like when people say God speak to them and this and that, but it was like God saying, I've got you, but I've got you. Just trust me, everything's going to be okay." And that was the first uh, realization and the first time that I felt like God was speaking to me. And like I say, it wasn't like an audible voice or anything, but it was just a comforting feeling. Uh, and so that's the beginning of of when I realized, hey, there's something to this. If you really put your faith in God. And I wished there's so much more that I'm going to tell that's more compelling than just that. That's happened to me and still happening to me right now. I'm still not in the best situation, but I have a 9-year-old daughter now, and I'm here with her actually, and she's outside. But I will make another video, and the next one I'm gonna try to be. Well, it'll probably be just as bad as this one. Uh, but at least I won't have her to worry about having to go check on and whatnot. But anyways, I just want to show and show what God is doing for me in my life, and all the stuff that the things that these other Christians and are saying. God's, you know, there's a I'm not saying anything. I don't care if you subscribe or anything like that. I'm not trying to, mm, you know, become YouTube famous or anything like that or make any money off YouTube. I don't hope to do that. I just want to get out. I want to show because I want to show examples of what God is doing in my life and in like kind of real time instead of just hearing someone say it, verse this and this, whatever God says, says this, and your situation, whatever you're going through, it'll work out. But I'll talk later to my daughter.